Shabima. How are you? Just waiting a few more minutes to see if anybody wanted to join the live session. I'll be talking about business writing tips for success and coming up with questions and things of that nature for people that are interested, and kind of asking questions about their... Hi, Monica. How are you? A few more minutes to see if more people will join. My session pretty much is about business writing. This could be for personal or business purposes, and if you work in office as well. I'm just going to wait a few more minutes, and after that I'll just go through the agenda, and then we'll have a short question. Great, that's good to hear. And then we'll have a question and answer period where you can ask specific questions about your brand and your company. So I won't waste any more time. The agenda will just be a bio about myself, goals as far as business writing, your audience, and just having a better understanding of how to figure that out. Different types of content that you can use depending on how comfortable you are, and then testing your content, and then at the end we'll have a Q&A section. So just a bio about myself. I'm originally from Toronto. I used to work at TD Canada Trust for a good 4 years. I was working in banking, and at the time I really wanted to pursue opportunities in writing. And I started sending out my resume, and it seemed like a lot of the companies out here in Western Canada, more specifically Edmonton, were responding more to my resume. And so I started working at a accounting firm here in Edmonton, and I started picking up tips and strategies on how to do my own marketing while I was at the organization. In the evenings and on weekends, I was moonlighting, which means I was freelancing and picking up different writing jobs, more specifically for the U.S. market. And while I was working full-time and running my writing business, 2 years in, I was able to leave the workforce, and I've been pretty successful with companies in the U.S., here locally as well, picking up contracts and also doing freelance work for, I'd say, medium to large organizations. So that's a little bit about me. I'm passionate about writing. I don't really look at it as a business. I look at it as a lifestyle. And as I mentioned in a post not too long ago, if I could wake up tomorrow and do something else, I definitely would not want to be anything but a writer. So for goals, if you're looking for a specific goal in mind, I would really look at your content strategy from a short-term and a long-term perspective, and just make sure that you and your team, or if you're a solopreneur and you're running your business by yourself, that you have an idea of what kind of metrics that you're trying to focus on, and things within your limit, within your resources and your capabilities to focus on before that time runs out. I typically don't like to put expiration dates on goals, because if you don't reach them during that time, it can be frustrating. The other part I would think about too is knowing your audience. And in a previous video not too long ago, I mentioned how I like to take time out during the weekend, and I like to stay up late at night just looking at comments and how the algorithms and the insights in the back of Instagram, LinkedIn, and other platforms, pretty much just to find out who's looking at my piece of content and the times that are working. Later.com, they have a pretty good schedule. They do have an infographic that I put, I think, about 3 or 4 months ago, and it's based on Eastern time, and I generally like to focus on that, their advice. It depends on your audience too. If you're business to consumer and your customers are pretty much the general public, most people will be available during certain days of the time, so you really want to test out your best times of posting blogs, videos, and social media content. And there are other platforms online where you can find out about your audience. I also like to just, on LinkedIn, I'm pretty good at following hashtags and looking to see what people, because I'm business to business, people at an executive level are kind of focusing on, ranting about, or even creating posts of complaints about things that they're having an issue with in their startup, their company, or in their industry. And I like to take my weekends and really just look at, again, the comments, the insights in the back end of each social media post, just to get a better understanding of the issues in the market for the businesses that I like to target. And I also like to look at blogs and other bloggers and people in my industry for writing for business to see what kind of strategies that they are focusing on at the moment. Your audience, it can change. I'd have to say the first 4 years of writing, my audience was mainly U.S. companies. I'm not sure why U.S. companies like working with Canadians, but if you guys are just focusing on local opportunities or local consumers, try to test your products and services in other countries, especially during this time with the coronavirus. I myself, I'm branching out. I'm not focusing on North America anymore, and I'm trying to, like on the weekend, I was looking at emerging economies in different continents, and that's where I'm focusing a lot of my energy on, is just focusing on an international market. If you guys are doing your business from home, you guys have an advantage, especially during this time, because there is a market out there for companies across the globe that want to work with Canadians. I'm not sure if it's because they look at us as having a good grasp of English, or they look at us as being a diverse nation and that we have an understanding of different, cultures and things of that nature. So try to test it out. Especially for yourself, Monica, you never know, a U.S. company might want to work with you. I've had clients in Eastern Europe, India. I've had, I've had clients in South Asia. I've also worked with clients like app companies in different parts of Europe. I used to do blogs for a career coach in Australia. Like the opportunities are really endless, and the beautiful thing about, as you know, probably know, Monica, right now, a lot of people are going to be online. So, test it out and see if there is another audience in a different part of the world. I like to usually just do research again. I try to pay attention to different hashtags in different nations and see what the issues are in the industries that I target, and that helps me to create posts and blogs and videos to get their attention. Just the other day on LinkedIn, I received a message from this recruiter who works for a marketing agency, and he was trying to propose an opportunity for me to go to Montreal, and the client was interested in paying for my accommodations, and because of this whole thing that's going on right now, I told him I really don't want to take a risk, but it just comes to show that if you post every day, or if you share content every day, or if you're regularly on different platforms where you know your consumers are going to be, it might seem like you're not getting any traction and nobody's paying attention, but even when people don't like your posts or comment or DM you, people are watching. So, try to be consistent with how many pieces of content you put out a day, because, again, they might not like your post, or they might not retweet it or share it, but people are watching, and as consistent as you are, the opportunities will be consistent. And then content type, as you're probably aware, you can write blogs, videos, you can write articles. Blogs are great because if you try to be a little bit more personal with your blogs, it's a kind of like having a conversation with your best friend, and an opportunity for you to really get your name and your brand out there from a personal perspective. One of the things that I've been noticing on LinkedIn is a lot of people are kind of putting themselves out there, and it's really surprising because I've never seen it before. I've never seen like CEOs talk about how they're nervous, and people in high places within organizations really being honest about what they're going through with this whole coronavirus. So it's pretty much up to you. You can pick and choose how much you want to expose yourself to your local, city or the world. But the more, I can just say for myself, the more honest you are about your personal truth when it comes to blogs, the better. Articles are a little bit longer. They're data-driven. I generally like to write articles for like executives and try to get the attention of executives, and I like to put like statistics, data, facts, and hyperlinks back to like a Forbes article or a Business Insider, because it will show that you're doing your research and not just writing, and it will help you get potential traction if you put out a blog out there and maybe it doesn't trend. I've had blogs that trended and I got a lot of responses from readers and different companies that want to work with me, and then I put out articles that did not trend and still had people reach out to me to provide feedback or ask me if I can do the same thing for their company. So if you're not blogging from a personal perspective and sharing your truth, then I recommend, hey, how are you? It's good to see you. It's been a while. So I'm just talking about, I did a bit of my bio. Annie, you know who I am, so I'm sure I don't have to get into that. And then I was talking about content for goals. Like, do you have a short-term or a long-term goal about your writing or what you're doing on social media? And just try to have an idea of what kind of goal you want. And I was talking about metrics, like how much you want to earn based on your content goals and how long you want to keep doing it. And then I started talking, Annie, about audience, and I was telling everybody here that if you're doing, well, with this whole coronavirus, you're in the U.S., so it's pretty intense out there, but I was telling everybody that if you're doing things from home and you're trying to go virtual, don't just focus on your backyard. So Annie, you're in Miami. Monica, you're here in Edmonton with me. Gemma, I think you might be in Africa, maybe Nigeria, I'm not sure. You can just let me know if you're comfortable with that. But try to think global now. Like, the world is going to shift after this whole situation, and when this thing disappears, a lot of people are, including myself, I'm not going to be comfortable to go to restaurants anymore. I'm going to be very cautious about where I go and the doors I touch and stuff like that. So it's going to turn into a virtual business opportunity for myself and for you. So I was telling people, the other two attendees, that I've been able to get opportunities by sharing blogs and content, social media posts, using very specific hashtags for the locations that I'm interested in. And I'm not just focusing anymore, ladies, on Edmonton. What I have been doing on the weekend is I've been Googling emerging industries in different continents like Africa and Asia. And even before all of this happened, I've worked with companies in Eastern Europe, South Asia, Australia. So don't limit yourself to Miami or Edmonton or Nigeria. Really think global, because trust me, if you're in North America, people want a North American voice, a North American mindset. A lot of companies and startups and brands out there, they're trying to branch out. And they need people who have writing or speaking skills or just have the mindset of a North American. So there's so much opportunity for all of you ladies. And then the fourth thing that I was talking about, Annie, is content type. So that's like a blog, a video, article, social media post, doing a webinar like this live, or even just going on Spotify and having an audio. Just try to use the content type that you're comfortable with. I've been writing for the past 6 years, so I'm comfortable with writing a blog. I just started vlogging. I have a YouTube channel, and I just started doing these videos once a week on Instagram. You don't have to look perfect. If you guys know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, he's been doing Instagram Lives for the past several days, 7 a.m. in the morning. He has not shaven. He wears like a winter hat on his head, and he's just wearing a T-shirt. So I got ready for all of you, just because I didn't know who was going to be on this video, but try not to think too much about what people are going to think, what people are going to say, because if your piece of content is perfect, they're still going to have an opinion about it. But it's really, again, going back to your audience. And I was sharing before, Annie, that the best ways to understand what your audience wants is to look at your comments, take a look at insights. If you're on Instagram after this, click on the insights button and take a look at the best days and the times that our people are on. For all of you, I recommend getting on LinkedIn, because that's like, everybody's on LinkedIn now, and it's the algorithm for LinkedIn, it's organic. So if you notice on Twitter, I was able to create a following of a little over 2,500, because at that time Twitter was, the algorithm was great, but like Instagram and Twitter, the algorithm isn't that great anymore, but there's organic reach. So when I say that, I mean it's easier for eyes to get on your posts on LinkedIn. So with every video, article, Spotify, audio, any webinar, just try to put it on social media. And if you guys are into writing, try to guest blog. I was doing a lot of guest blogging in 2018. That's how I was able to get features on CNBC Make It, Yahoo Finance News, MSN Money, because they were able to find my content. And I worked with Glassdoor.com, which is a big job search website. And they are syndicate with CNBC, and I'm not sure what that CNBC editor saw in my Glassdoor blog, but they reshared it, and then MSN shared it, and then Yahoo shared it, and the Yahoo and MSN, that was deleted, but it was still a great opportunity. So try not to think too hard about your content. Just think about the audience. Really, everything that you guys put out there, online or even offline, it's just about thinking like your customer, thinking about the consumer. What are their pain points? What are their issues? If you can understand what their problems are, and you can answer their problems through, again, a blog, a video, an article, a social media post, and you can do that regularly, whether it's every day, every other day, every week, if you can keep doing that and be consistent, people are going to see your work. And I was saying before, Annie, to Monica and to Gemma, that just because somebody doesn't like your post or somebody doesn't comment, people are watching. And I was just explaining not too long ago that this recruiter wanted me to fly out to Montreal and work with this startup. And I told them, unfortunately, I'm not going because this whole coronavirus. And if this was any other day, I'd probably jump on it because they were going to pay for my accommodations and pay for my living expenses. But I don't want to put myself in harm. But I've never seen this guy before. He just came out of nowhere and sent me a message. And so try to be active as much as possible. And then the last topic that I have is about testing content. So testing, it might sound complex, but it's really not. Testing content is just saying, let's see, so Annie, I think are you like in entertainment right now? You can just let me know. But if you're doing like entertainment, for example, testing content could be just like a short video about who you are, Annie, where you come from, why you do what you do, why you're passionate about your branding or your business, and just putting it out there. And then maybe the next video would be about you actually at the spot where you are at work or at running your business or with a customer, just having a 5-second chat about why they came to you and what they do and what their problems are in business, and just testing it out and seeing how people respond to it. And I always like to say this online, you can get a lot of likes, you can get all the followers that you can get, but I personally have a cousin who has a 40,000 following on Instagram, and he's great at what he does, but I'm not sure if that's converting into money. Like I saw him several months ago, and he seemed fine, but I'm not sure if he's converting like those followers. That's a lot of people who's following him into business opportunities. So try not to get too focused on the metrics or like the likes and everything else like that, because it doesn't really mean anything. Because like I said, there are people that have not liked anything that I put online, let alone contacted me, but they reached out to me 2 months later, 3 months later, a year later, and they asked me if I wanted to work with them. So it's just, the goal really is to just put out as much content as you can at the time that you can, and think about your audience, who, what, where, when, why, and how, where do they live, Should I be focusing more on a women? Should I be focusing more on men? Where do these people live? Do they live in Miami? Do they live in Edmonton? Do they live in Nigeria? Or do they live in Asia? What is the mindset of that woman, that 35-year-old woman who's has a bachelor's degree in, Barbados? I just recently went there, Barbados. Like, what's her mindset? And try to just really think like your audience, and that can take time. But pay attention to any piece of engagement or conversations that people are bringing towards you, and that will give you a general understanding of what it is that they need to succeed in life or business. So I'll open this to question and answers. Do you have any questions? Does anyone want to be added on the video chat to ask the question? No? Okay. I'm just going to check the time. Okay, so we have a little bit of time. So yeah, so that's it. I know these are scary times for all of us. I'm really not trying to get too caught up in the negativity. Like, I really do feel for the people that have been impacted, but it's going to shift the way the world moves, and it's going to become more of a virtual world. And if there's any way that you can, again, take a look at emerging countries within your industry, if most of your customers are CEOs, or if most of your customers are single moms who have 2 or 3 children, try to find a way that you can virtually serve them. And don't be afraid to, again, test content. If you're not comfortable with writing, you don't have to write. Writing is not for everybody. If you're insecure or you're not comfortable with getting in front of a camera, don't do it. But at the same time, don't be afraid to grow either. Again, the only reason why I write is because I'm passionate about it, and I've seen people become inspired, and I've seen companies that I work with grow as a result of it, and that's why I continue to do it. 2 years ago, I'm an introvert for the most part in my personal life. So 2 years ago, I had less photos on Instagram. I had less videos. I would do maybe a video once every 3 or 4 months, and I was very uncomfortable with doing that. But I know that the way of the world now, it's people want to see a little bit more about yourself. I'm not going to share my relationship, and I'm not going to share how my dad looks like. I personally don't feel like I have to do that, because I'm not trying to be a social influencer. I'm just trying to share content and help people at work or at business, so you can manage how much of your personal life that you share with people. If you don't want to show your children, don't do it. You're not obligated to show that. And it also depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to be a social influencer and gain opportunities online to be the face of people's brand, maybe you might want to do that, and maybe you don't. And then just remember, just to recap, focus on your goals. What are your short-term goals when you're putting business writing into the internet space, and what are your long-term goals? Be honest with yourself, like, how much money do you want to make in the next 6 months to 12 months? And don't be afraid to put a number out there, because there are companies out there that are going to make money if this thing turns into a recession. I opened up my LinkedIn the other day, and there was this CEO bragging about how his company just closed a $1 million contract, and they have more contracts coming in. And in the end, I think his post was really, it wasn't so much bragging, but it was just a silver line conversation that there are opportunities out there. And if you're comfortable with stepping outside of your comfort zone and becoming more virtual, you can take advantage of it too. And then your audience, hey, if you have an audience right now, but you want to branch out to another audience, there's nothing wrong with that. When started, my focus was working with marketing agencies. And I was pretty good at doing that. And then for some reason, the universe shifted me from marketing agencies to technology. And now I'm working more with tech startups and global organizations that have software because, and I just decided to go in that direction because I know technology is just going to keep getting bigger and better, and I know it's not going to disappear anytime soon. So when you're trying to think of an audience and your goals, try to think of industries and things that are going to be around for the next 10 to 20 years, things that are not going to disappear. And if you're in an industry that's slowly disappearing because of automation or technology, don't be afraid. You just have to take some time out and think about, what am I going to do next? Okay. If this industry is disappearing because of the coronavirus, or if this coronavirus gets worse and this particular thing disappears, what can I do next? I've thought about even shifting into just talking about how to leave the workforce, like how to do freelancing in the evenings on weekends, and then shifting my writing into more of that. And that's something that I have to kind of sit down and think about. I don't necessarily need to do that right now, but if the you-know-what hits the fan and I have to, I might have to shift from just focusing on writing and focusing on a new market of people who now have no choice but to become freelancers, right? Or to start some kind of creative business. I don't know. It's not something that I have to think about right now, but if my back was up against the wall and I told myself, what am I going to do about it? I might have to shift audience. So sometimes you have to do that in business. And then content type, again, just do what makes you feel comfortable. If you're comfortable with getting in front of a camera, start doing it. Ask your mom and your dad what they think about it, or just test it out, put it on Instagram and see how people respond to it. I'm sure many of you noticed, I used to sit inside and I used to do videos in front of my boss lady painting, and that was nice. But then one day I was just walking in the morning and I just started doing a video, and I seemed to get more views from that, just like having walks and talking. And so I might start shifting that way. I might change it up next week. I'm not too sure, but just try to find the content type that you're comfortable with doing consistently, and then testing content, the days of the times that you should be sharing, who you should be sharing it to. Change your hashtags if you have to. Maybe change your hashtags to locations or job titles, or change your hashtags to industries, and just change it up, ladies. So if you don't have any questions, I will end soon. I'm going to try to do more of these every week, maybe Wednesday at noon. I'm not sure yet, but I will share with all of you in my videos and on social media the next time I will do another chat. So I hope you ladies are good, and I'm going to get going. I have some more work to do, so I hope all of you have a great day. Take care. Bye.